Hello and welcome to another Stellarian Games video. Today I'm going to be kicking off a series which is a little bit different for me. Normally I do just a single video at a time. This one I wanted to plan ahead a little bit and do kind of a series of videos. And this series is going to be based really around the idea of being able to put together a kit that a basic dungeon master would use to have at the tabletop. So the idea is I have a box. I want to fill this box with kind of the basic material, the scatter terrain, basic terrain that you might use as part of dungeon mastering, as well as this Essentials starter kit from Dungeons & Dragons. This box is going to be a gift for a family member of mine, so I'm going to be giving the Essentials kit as well as the box full of goodies as a holiday gift. To start the video series, I'm going to be focusing on this, which is the Ultimate Dungeon Terrain, which is highlighted on Dungeon Craft, the channel. If you want to go take a look at his videos, he's got a lot of really good ideas. I really like his ideas of kind of merging the theater of the mind as well as the physical terrain. And the Ultimate Dungeon Terrain, I think, is the right limiter to be able to have some terrain for others to be able to see with their eyes, and also really explore the theater of their mind. And I like that blending. So we're going to be looking at this Ultimate Dungeon Terrain today on the video. This one is basically double-sided. On the one side it has tiles, stonework, and on the other side it has just a basic sandstone exterior. Could be like a cave setting, could be a dry, arid setting. Really anything exterior, just no vegetation on this one. I might do another ring. I'm planning on doing another ring for essentially the same kind of thing with the sand exterior, but with some green vegetation to really simulate more forest or outdoor activities. And on the flip side of that one, I'm planning on doing kind of a snow terrain, simply because I haven't really played around with the snow terrain. I think that'll be an exciting experiment. The other part of this dungeon terrain is this Lazy Susan. It's about 19.5 inches across, and I think is the right size to fit into this box. That's really the limiting factor that I used. And I put a little bit of felt on top so that this dungeon terrain circle doesn't slide around or slip in any way. So that's today's video. We're going to look at how do we make this, and then we're going to go and continue the series with other scatter terrain elements and pieces that will go into this box. When the series is done, I'll kind of show everything that went into the box and what you can do with it, and that'll be the series. So let's go to the crafting table and see how this is done. Okay, to begin this series, we're actually going to be working on the box itself. This box I found, I had used it as a kind of a container for containing spray paint before. That's why it's a little bit messy, but that was on the bottom side. And I'm just using some black duct tape to clean up the edges so that it'll be a little bit more durable of a box in the long run. Now on a sheet of plywood, I'm drawing a circle by attaching a wire to a nail in the center and then cutting it out with a jigsaw. I'm cleaning up the edges on a belt sander so that it doesn't have any rough edges. And then I'm going to be attaching the little holders onto the side. These are little plywood rectangles that you can get at a craft store. I'm putting some wood glue on and putting a small button cap screw over the top of it. Now I'm covering the entire thing in black paint, letting that dry. Okay, I'm using the circle to trace onto styrofoam before I attach the Lazy Susan. I'm measuring in the center for the Lazy Susan, making sure that it's centered, drilling in some pilot holes and putting in some small screws. I'm using the circle again to draw onto some felt. this will be the non-stick surface over the top. I'm using some masking tape and just masking the edges so that I don't end up spraying anything over the edge, and spraying on some adhesive. I'm going to remove the masking tape first. That seemed to get in the way of putting down the felt. Then I'm holding the felt in my chin and then kind of pulling it down so that it set correctly into place. Now on the Lazy Susan, I'm putting some non-stick rubber buttons so that it doesn't scratch any tables. Now on that trace circle that I did on the styrofoam, I'm just using a knife and cutting that out. And I'm drawing a line both horizontal and vertically on the grid on my mat. I'm just following the mat grid and following kind of inch guidelines and drawing with a pencil to indent a grid mark. I'm using a ballpoint pen to put in a stone pattern. I found a pattern online that I liked, so I just kind of traced some of those and then followed through with that over the entire piece. I'm using some chain and hitting the surface of this to give it a texture, a rough texture. I'm using some rolled up tinfoil to give it some stone texture as well. And then I'm going in with a tool and indenting a few of the stones here and there to give it some irregularity. Now on the backside, I'm using the chain to just very thoroughly texture the entire surface so that it'll have kind of a more uneven surface. Then I'm using that tinfoil to give it a little bit more stone texture as well. Then putting on some white glue and brushing it all over the place to give it kind of an organic look, and sprinkling on some sand. Making sure to knock off any of the larger pieces of sand, as I didn't want that getting in the way of sitting flat on the table. Now I'm using a mixture of black paint and Mod Podge to coat the entire surface. The Mod Podge will help harden and protect the surface. Now I'm using a dark brown to dry brush over both sides of the piece. Then I'll switch to the lighter tan, giving it a dry brush. On the exterior side, I'm a little bit more splotchy, and I'm using the lighter tan there to make it a bit splotchy as well. Then lastly, I'm giving it a little bit of a highlight of gray just to give it some color variation. After that's completely dry, I give it a wash just on the stone side. I didn't feel like the exterior side really needed that black wash. Use the paper towel to clean it up a little bit. So here's the final version. You probably want to coat it with a protective spray coating as well, so that it'll hold up even better in play terms. This piece, again, is 19.5 inches, but it holds quite a bit of terrain if you needed it to, and allows people to spin it around on the table so that they can see from all angles what's happening, and they don't have to get up and move from side to side if you have large pieces of terrain. So if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time. Thank you.